Good evening, good evening. It's your man Afe once again, back at you with another one. Tonight, I want to talk about the Tuskegee Experiment. I'm sure a lot of us out there are familiar with the Tuskegee Experiment that was done in 1932. Um, the main reason for this is, as I continue on, just talking about reparations for foundational Black Americans. Well, the Tuskegee experiment and the victims of this experiment actually received reparations. So that is another precedence for foundational Black Americans in America to receive reparations because of the human right violations against us. Now, I don't know how many are familiar with the time when President Bill Clinton actually officially gave an apology to some of the surviving victims of the Tuskegee experiment that began in 1932, which at that time there was no known cure for syphilis, a contagious venereal disease. So the people in charge of this experiment basically recruited 600 African American men or foundational Black American men in Macon County, Alabama. They were enrolled in the project, which aimed to study the full progression of the disease. The participants were primarily sharecroppers. Many had never been to a doctor before. Doctors from the U.S. Public Service, which was running the study, informed the participants, 399 men with latent syphilis, and a control group of 201 others who were free of the disease, that they were being treated for bad blood, a term commonly used in the area at the time to refer to a variety of ailments. The men were monitored by health workers, but only given placebos such as aspirins and mineral supplements, despite the fact that penicillin became the recommended treatment for syphilis in 1947, some 15 years into the study. In order to track the full progression of the disease, researchers provided no effective care as the men died, went blind, went insane, experienced other severe health problems due to their untreated syphilis. Imagine that. Black men in America being used as guinea pigs by the medical establishment. In the mid-1960s, a PHS venereal disease investigator in San Francisco named Peter Boxton found out about the Tuskegee study and expressed his concerns to his superiors that it was unethical. In response, PHS officials formed a committee to review the study, but ultimately opted to continue it with the goal of tracking the participants until all had died. Isn't that amazing? Autopsies were performed and the project data could be analyzed. Boxton, the man from San Francisco, then leaked the story to a reporter friend who passed it on to a fellow reporter, Gene Heller of the Associated Press. Heller broke the story in July 1972, prompting public outrage and forcing the study to finally shut down. Wow, so since 1932 to 1972, 40 years. There's that number again, the number 40. So let's see, we got 40 acres in a mule. We got 40 acres. 40 years to be treated like guinea pigs. Isn't that amazing? The number 40. By that time, 28 participants had perished from syphilis. In 1972. 100 more had passed away from related complications. At least 40, there's that number again, spouses had been diagnosed with it, so they passed it on to 40. We just seem to be affected by this number 40 for some reason. I don't know. Did the children of Israel dwell in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights or something like that? The disease had been passed to 19 children at birth, so their descendants got the syphilis too. That's incredible. And, this information is well known. Like I said at the beginning of the video, President Bill Clinton, God bless his soul, he apologized for the United States, basically government's role in this experiment. In 1973, Congress held hearings on the Tuskegee experiments. In the following year, the study's surviving participants, along with the heirs of those who died, received a $10 million out-of-court settlement. Reparations for the wrong that was done for them. Reparations basically is restorative justice, right? So I made a video before this. I don't know if you saw it or not. There may have been some issues with it. I don't know. All I know how to do is really try to speak the truth. That's what's important to me. It's not important to a lot of people, but to me it is. Some people, they just, they just want that. They want something from you. They scheming, they scamming. They got a plan to come on up. But this is so serious that we cannot take this information lightly, especially when we have people in Congress nowadays, talking about reparations for foundational Black Americans and asking, for money to support these studies in the amount of $12 million. That bill, HR 40, right? There's some Congress people that want $12 million to study the effects of, not only slavery, not only Jim Crow, not only the black codes, not only all the mob violence and other things that took place in the early 20th century. Um, after the Civil War, after World War One, after we participated in the Civil War, after we participated in World War One, it helped to win all of these wars, and that's a documented fact too. Still treated unfairly, still treated with brutality, property destroyed, land ran off of land that we own. Um, and there's been very little restorative justice or restitution for any of these events. But the Tuskegee Experiment and what was done to them after 40 years by the medical establishment, these brothers, the survivors, these black men, they received $10 million. Similar to the Rosewood reparations package that the government of Florida gave the survivors of that event that took place in 1923, and that was given to them in 1994. And you can remember, I said it in a video before this, that there was a movie called Rosewood that was put out in 1997 by John Singleton, the late John Singleton, one of our great movie directors. So, the Tuskegee Experiment. As a result of the Tuskegee Experiment, many African Americans developed a lingering, deep mistrust of public health officials and vaccines. So, it was important for them to reassure us that this type of stuff would not take place anymore. And I understand that, So we got some sort of restorative justice for this crime against us, which is a precedence. So we have a number of examples already documented, money already paid, which should really continue to set the stage to present our case to the world. Okay? Because if we get justice, other people can get justice. That's just a fact. We're not going to be put on the back burner anymore by anybody. Our vote is not going to be used by any party. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm an independent, just to let you know. So you got to earn my vote if you're out there listening. You got to earn my vote. And a lot of us in the not too distant future, you're going to have to earn our vote. Because this type of stuff is in our memory. And we're not going to simply just forget about it. No, it has to be talked about, and it has to be taught. Even when certain government officials want to forbid this type of information from continue to be taught in the public sector, especially the public schools or colleges or whatnot, which is absolutely ridiculous. It just tells me that you really feel guilty, maybe of the sins of your ancestors. I don't know if they're your ancestors or not, but somebody's guilty, and somebody has to pay, because those are, Rosewood, the Tuskegee Experiment. Those are major events, but there is far more that have to be talked about, and everybody has to talk about it with your friends, with your families, with your colleagues, with your professors, with your children, with your neighbors, with your government officials, whoever. They need to know. So if you like what you heard tonight, please like, share, and subscribe. Just do me that favor, and I promise I'm gonna put more content out because I feel like it is my responsibility to really teach about these things to people that don't know or have forgotten or are apathetic towards things like this. Okay? So I thank you for listening. And may you go in peace, or as the Bible says, Godspeed.